Hey, welcome to the video. Back here you'll see I got a L5P that I need to do a injector pigtail on, 4.5 there. I got to put a high pressure pump on, but that's not actually what this video is for. This video is actually for this 6.7 Powerstroke over here. My customer, he called me. He said that they were out hauling some cars, and what had happened was it pretty much shut down on him. Said that it sounded like it was skipping, kind of popping back through the intake or whatever, and I'll link a video to what it sounded like. And said it sounded like it was popping back through the intake and wanted me to take a look at it and see what was going on. So I went out with the service truck once they got it back to their lot, pulled the codes on it, and I told them, I said, hey man, you're gonna probably have to bring it out to me so I can tear it down. So I'm gonna flip the camera around now and show you guys what's going on with this truck. Alright, so I got the 6.7 running outside the door here. Let's see what codes we've got. Alright, let's see, so we have some cylinder balance codes, contribution codes, and a fuel system large leakage. So the fuel system large leakage code, I would tie that into the contribution codes, because if the system sees that there's a bunch of fuel essentially being lost, so to speak, it's gonna throw that code. And so if we got say cylinders that are over fueling, that could contribute to our over loss. Or if say it looks for your fuel trim values, if you look in your fuel trim values and you see that there are cylinders that are adding a bunch of fuel, it's gonna think, hey look, we've got a large leak if we've got to add this much fuel to a certain cylinder. So let's go do a power balance test. So we know that we got cylinder 3 and cylinder 5 contribution codes. And then there were some more that were in there. I've seen it happen before where you have multiple contribution codes, but sometimes depending on the firing order, you can have other cylinders that pretty much essentially are making up for that loss of the cylinder before that precedes it, if it's missing before it. So essentially we're looking at 3, 5, and 6, are pretty much having issues, where the other ones are pretty much running evenly. Now, to kind of verify what you got going on here, what you can do, you can kind of power brake the vehicle, or put it under a load, and then that way you'll really see them, drop off or pick up. And so what I'm going to do now, I'm pretty confident that we've got issues with 3 and 5 for sure. So this particular truck, I'm going to go ahead and pull the valve cover off. Luckily this truck's actually already been deleted, so it should be very easy to get to it. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, I'm going to do a quick injector balance rate reading. And this will give us an idea as to what's going on. Actually what we're really looking at, say injector balance, and we're looking at your fuel trim rates. Alright, so 3, 5, and 6 definitely have some issues. So on this the 6.7 here, they're pretty much, so your passenger side bank, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the driver side bank is 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm going to pull a 3 off because it's a little bit easier on this particular truck because it's been deleted already. And I'm going to get the valve cover off, and I guess you guys can follow me for that. Okay, so this truck actually ran spectacularly well, given the problem that it has. And actually, I've seen this happen before on 6.7s. They'll run extremely well, and they'll have cylinder contribution codes, but it won't be essentially a code meaning that it actually had a bad injector. What it'd be is just you have a cylinder that's not firing correctly because your valves aren't opening like they're supposed to. Now, with these 6.7s, there are some that have just lifter failure, and then there's some that have rocker arm failure. To really fully get the full scope of this particular failure, one would have to pull the head off and exactly see what's going on with the lifters and the camshaft. But let's look over here at some of these push rods here. All right. See, this push rod here was one of the ones that failed. This one was getting ready to cut, and actually it's got a little bit of a bend to it. There's definitely some bent one or two in here. I'm sorry guys about the glare here. The sun's at my back. Branch tube tore all the pieces. There's one push rod here where the little ball tip is broke off. There it is right there. So with these, like I said, you'd have to tear it down a little bit further to see exactly what's going on. There's not a dropped valve because all the valves that are in here are actually still in their keepers like they're supposed to be. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if once you took the head off, I wouldn't be surprised to see if there was a bent valve somewhere, because that would indicate one of the reasons we got the bent push rod. Like I said, the model years are a little different. Some years have more collapsed lifter failures, and then some years have failures where it's just strictly with the rocker arm itself, where the rocker arm will break. And with these, you'll see that a lot of these here, the little fulcrum piece, little spring metal, is broke out of the center of them. Yeah, you can see where it's supposed to be there. Anyways, this particular customer, I'm not too sure what we're going to do with this, what their decision is going to be. So I don't know. We'll just have to see what they say they want to do, what the next step they want to do with this particular truck, and go from there. But I will say, at this particular moment, the long blocks from Ford, there's a really long wait list to get them. So if you do happen to have this failure, what you'll end up having to do is actually do like pretty much essentially a motor rebuild. And if you do have a failure where you got a bunch of metal in the system, like in the oil, I mean, you really got to clean it up. Whereas maybe if you could get by, say if it's a collapsed lifter and you don't have anything where the lifters start wiping off cam lobes, you maybe could get by with just replacing the lifters, push rods, and anything that's broke. Hopefully you guys don't have this failure, but I imagine if you are watching this video, perhaps you did have some of the cylinder contribution codes and the pretty much noticeable if you hear kind of like a combustion back through the intake tube here. If you hear that, it's a good possibility that you do have a lifter or a rocker arm failure, push rod failure, whatever. So there's that.